All right, so diving into some really fascinating stuff today, huh? We're taking a deep dive into internal family systems, IFS for short.
You got it. Going deep with no bad parts, Richard Schwartz's book.
It's not just theory, though, right? It's like getting this new way to see your inner world.
Totally. For the learner listener, self-awareness, well-being, that's the core here.
Our mission, to pull out the gold from IFS, help you understand yourself, like way better.
The main takeaway, we all have these different sides, these parts.
And get this, none of them are bad, really.
They're trying to protect us, usually carrying baggage from the past.
So this deep dive, we're going into the fundamentals.
These parts, how they kind of take over sometimes.
Schwartz calls that blending, right?
Blending and the whole inner system they make.
Then we're exploring how IFS helps us lead ourselves, basically.
Self-leadership and deep healing.
Finally, we'll see how this inner stuff connects to our bodies.
And to the whole world around us.
We'll also hit on some of those exercises from the book.
You know, practical ways to check out your own inner world.
So, big picture, no bad parts, is about accepting all these different sides of ourselves.
It's radical, moving away from the idea of one perfect you.
Embracing all the things that make you, well, you.
And, huge lesson here, even the voices that are super critical.
Or self-sabotaging. They're not evil.
They're protectors, just trying your best.
Often in ways that don't quite work.
But understanding that positive intent, that's the first step.
To inner peace, right. So chapter 1, we're all multiple, let's go.
It challenges that whole single self idea we have.
Like we're supposed to be just one thing.
Right. Schwartz starts with this quote from Jonathan Van Ness.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The fear of being truly known with all our parts.
That's deep.
It speaks to this thing we all feel.
Like we're hiding parts of ourselves.
Exactly. Those less desirable aspects, keep them under wraps.
The lesson, recognize and accept these sides. No judgment. We all have those inner voices, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
The one that pushes you to work harder. The one that freaks out before a presentation.
The comfort food voice. When you're stressed.
IFS says they're not just random thoughts. They're parts of us.
Distinct parts with their own views and goals.
To get to know them, there's an exercise. Getting to know a protector.
Pick a part that feels protective, you know, the worrier maybe.
The critic, the people pleaser, and just observe it.
Be curious, don't try to change it yet.
Then mapping your parts, that goes further.
You actually list out your different parts.
Like what roles do they play? How do they make you feel?
And what are they trying to achieve?
This mapping, it helps you see it all more clearly.
Less overwhelming. For example, the perfectionist part.
The lazy part, the caretaker.
And how they all interact with each other.
It's wild when you think about the history of this stuff.
Right.
For so long, especially in the West, the ideal was this one unified self.
In control.
Like John Calvin and that whole inherent sinfulness thing.
Strict control, or even Freud.
Taming those primal instincts, that kind of thing.
That view made inner conflict seem weak, something to erase.
But IFS, it flips the script completely.
The lesson, move beyond that battle. See the value in our diversity.
Exactly. It was all about squashing the negative stuff.
Willpower, willpower, willpower.
But IFS says that doesn't work so well.
And it misses the point.
Even the parts that seem, dark or bad.
As Schwartz says right away, they have a positive intention.
They're protecting us in their own way.
Based on their worldview, their experiences.
The insight is, these parts, they're not the enemy.
They're just using outdated, extreme ways to keep us safe.
Like an inner critic that's always on your case.
It might be trying to push you to succeed.
So you avoid failure, but its methods, they're not so great.
Right. It's coming from a good place, but...
So we're shifting from seeing ourselves as one flawed thing.
To a whole community of parts.
Well-meaning, but maybe a little misguided.
Leads us to Chapter 2, Why Parts Blend.
What's the main takeaway there?
It's about understanding that when we feel totally flooded by an emotion,
or we react in a way that doesn't feel like us,
it's probably a part that's blended with ourself.
It's like that part's taking the wheel.
Right? Yeah, running the show, blocking our awareness.
And our wisdom, our compassion.
Schwartz uses this great analogy. It's like we become that scared kid we once were.
I can see that, for
Right,
sure.
really relatable, right?
We've all had those moments, looking back at how we acted.
And thinking, that wasn't me.
Like blowing up over something small.
Or freezing up when you knew what to do.
That feeling of being taken over.
Not really present. That's blending.
So the point is, these intense reactions, they're not who we truly are.
It's a sign that a part's in control.
So why does this blending happen?
Often it's from a lack of trust in what Schwartz calls the self,
That core of wisdom, compassion, confidence we all have.
especially after trauma and difficult stuff. Our protectors lose faith in the self's ability to protect,
They think they have to manage things themselves,
to prevent more pain,
like parentified inner children.
taking on the responsibility of protecting everything.
Way too young, without the resources, the perspective.
Blending often points to a past hurt, a threat a part's trying to handle.
And blending shows up in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
It's not just big emotions.
No.
It could be that urge to isolate yourself,
Or self-doubt that just paralyzes you.
that constant inner critic always putting you down.
Stressed out parts, stuck in time, trying to prevent something bad.
The takeaway is to notice when you feel hijacked by a feeling or thought.
That's a clue that a part's blended.
Chapter 2 gives us exercises for this, right?
Unblending and embodying.
Unblending. It's about creating space between you and the blended part.
You recognize it, you acknowledge its feelings, but you don't get lost in them.
Embodying the self, that's about bringing your attention to your body.
Feeling that core presence, the calm, centered part of you.
It's always there, right?
Always.
The lesson is, by practicing this, we can feel more spacious inside.
More choice in how we react.
Noticing when you're not in that embodied self state.
That's a sign a part has blended.
It's not about making the part go away.
No banishing.
It's gently acknowledging it, reassuring it.
It doesn't have to be in control all the time.
Schwartz says, as we connect with our parts from self, they start to trust more,
Less blending over time.
building that inner sense of
Okay.
safety and teamwork.
Absolutely. And to really see this in action, there's session 1, Sam.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
It shows how to find a blended part and start unblending.
Sam's shut down part. From being bullied, he was totally running things.
He couldn't even access that hurt kid part underneath.
And there was another protector, the tough guy, right?
Resisting connection with that vulnerable part.
The lesson is there are often layers of protectors.
We need to understand them before we can get to the exile parts.
I remember Dick, the therapist, he was so good
Yeah.
guiding Sam to focus on that feeling of resistance.
The not wanting to be with the younger part.
It uncovered the tough guy's fears.
Often, our protectors are afraid of the very feelings those exiled parts hold.
They think they're protecting us by keeping them locked away.
You're trying to help.
Then they ask the angry part to step back.
Invited the tough guy into a contained room.
That gave Sam self-space to connect with the hurt younger part.
So powerful.
By talking to our protectors, acknowledging their fears.
We can create the space for healing to happen.
And you saw that shift in Sam, right?
Immediate.
He felt closer to that younger part, compassionate.
Like a brother needing comfort.
He could finally offer that understanding and protection.
And the session shows the start of unburdening.
That younger part starting to let go of the pain.
It's profound, creating that space for the self to connect.
With an exiled part, the protectors cooperating, it starts the healing.
Unburdening happens when the self can be there, safe and compassionate.
Which takes us to chapter 3. This changes everything.
The message. Understanding and using IFS changes our inner world.
Creates lasting positive change.
Big claim, right?
The title says it all. Shifting from inner conflict to self-acceptance.
From judgment to compassion.
And more practical tools here.
Oh, yeah.
Dilemma meditation, for example.
Great one.
It helps us with those inner conflicts when parts want opposite things.
We approach it with curiosity, understanding, not force.
The lesson. These conflicts show real needs and fears from different parts.
We need to hold space for all those perspectives.
Understand why each part feels the way it does.
Instead of a tug of war, we step back with self-energy.
Ask, what's each part trying to protect me from?
What unmet need is each part expressing?
That shift from judgment to curiosity, it's game-changing.
It really is.
And then working with the challenging protector.
This is important.
When we start this inner work, some protectors are tough.
They resist.
They're like ingrained patterns they feel essential.
They don't want to let go of control.
The insight here. Approach them with the same curiosity and compassion.
We have to honor their fears, understand their resistance.
Trying to force change, it usually backfires.
They dig in deeper.
We acknowledge their role, thank them for protecting us.
Gently ask about their concerns.
The contained room, it reassures them they won't totally lose control.
We're just asking them to step aside for a bit.
so other parts can be heard.
Builds trust, cooperation in the system.
This chapter really drives home that core discovery.
Even the destructive, challenging parts.
The ones that lead to bad stuff, they have positive intentions.
Self-sabotage, addiction, it's all coming from somewhere.
They're locked in extreme roles because of past trauma.
Carrying so much fear, shame, anger.
Seeing that positive intent, no matter how hidden, it unlocks their potential.
To transform.
The lesson is, beneath the behavior, there's a wounded part.
That needs understanding and healing.
That leads perfectly into Chapter 4, more on systems.
We see the connections in our inner world.
It's not just individual parts, it's a whole system.
What about family?
It's like family therapy, which is where Schwartz started.
Right, just like families develop patterns to protect themselves.
Our parts do the same.
They form alliances, take on roles, react to each other.
There's a great example, the inner critic attacks,
which triggers a part that feels worthless,
leading to another part seeking comfort through food.
It's like dominoes falling inside.
To understand a part, we need to see it in the whole system.
Context is everything.
This changes how we approach things.
Instead of trying to kill off a bad part,
we look at its role in the system.
What's it reacting to? Who's it protecting?
Schwartz talks about trying to make a client's cutting part stop.
Directly, head on.
It didn't work. Actually hurt the therapy.
Forcing a part to change without understanding the system, it's pointless.
Might even make it stronger.
More resistant.
This chapter also talks about systems thinking in general.
Broader concept.
In biology, ecology, it's everywhere.
The idea that the whole is more than the parts.
You can't understand a complex thing by just looking at pieces.
It applies beautifully to our inner world.
Our parts are all connected. They influence each other.
It's not just cause and effect, it's this dynamic interplay.
That's what makes mapping our inner system so important.
Chapter 5.
It takes identifying parts further. We explore the relationships.
Who's allied with who? Who's in conflict?
What triggers which part? By seeing these connections.
You get a deeper understanding of the dynamics driving you.
Your thoughts, feelings, behaviors.
The lesson. Making these patterns visible helps us understand the logic
of our inner world, find ways to change.
Those leverage points.
It's interesting, these internal landscapes.
Yeah.
They often reflect our relationships in the real world.
They do.
Lots of inner conflict.
Right.
More likely to have that with others.
But if you cultivate understanding and compassion inside,
it can actually improve your relationships.
It radiates outward.
Inner and outer, so connected.
This chapter also gets into burdened parts.
The ones carrying those heavy beliefs and emotions.
Often from trauma.
These burdens can really mess with a part's natural role.
Lead to those rigid, extreme behaviors.
What's interesting, Schwartz says parts seem to have their own physical sense.
In the body, yeah.
Might sound strange, but he says to pay attention to where you feel them.
The sensations.
They can give you clues about their history and emotions.
The key is, these parts aren't just thoughts. They have a real presence in us.
And even with parts doing really tough, harmful things.
Schwartz is firm on no bad parts.
He says there are good parts in bad roles.
Driven by those intense burdens.
Like a part that makes you sabotage yourself.
It might be trying to protect you from disappointment, failure.
Based on past hurts.
The extreme behavior is a messed up way to get protection.
The lesson. Move past judgment. See the pain and fear driving it.
Leads to Chapter 6, healing and transformation.
That's where unburdening comes in.
The core process.
Parts finally release those beliefs and emotions they've been carrying.
Sometimes for years.
They can go back to their healthy roles.
In the system.
Schwartz gives us exercises for this. The path, for one.
Powerful visualization.
You connect with a burdened part safely, compassionately.
Let it share its story. Let go.
Accessing the self through unblending. That reinforces creating space.
Between you and the part.
So the self can heal.
The lesson. The self, with its compassion, clarity, and calm, it's the healer in IFS.
The chapter really highlights the power of the self.
Those 8 C's.
Creativity, courage, curiosity.
Connection, compassion, clarity, calm, confidence.
When we approach our parts from self, they feel safe to let go.
Like being a loving, understanding presence for a wounded child.
Schwartz also talks about the link between IFS and spirituality.
Yeah, it's interesting.
When we connect with self and talk to our ego parts from that place.
The spacious, compassionate place.
Many people feel a deeper spirituality.
A connection to something bigger.
Healing our inner divides can connect us to the world.
And there's growing interest in IFS and psychedelics.
Like MDMA.
Schwartz mentions that, yeah.
They can help those guard protectors relax.
The ones blocking access to our deepest wounds.
Allows for more self, speeds up unburdening.
He also compares the non-dual states from meditation and psychedelics,
To the self in IFS.
suggesting IFS might be a more direct route to that inner wisdom and peace,
Different tools, different ways to support the process.
all pointing towards the self.
Chapter 7, The Self in Action, is all about how this impacts our life.
Not just inside, but in our relationships, how we engage with the world.
When we operate from self, our interactions change.
More compassionate, clear, effective.
Schwartz compares the self to a secure attachment figure.
In psychology, like a good parent.
They provide a safe base for a child to explore.
Our self does that for our parts.
Connected to self, we can relate to our parts with love.
Set boundaries when needed. Offer guidance.
It's like being a good parent to all those inner kids.
There's session 3, Ethan and Sarah, to show this.
That's a good one.
Ethan working with a protector that was all about justice.
Turned out it came from his dad dying.
Powerful stuff.
What's amazing is how Ethan, using IFS, connected with the protector's pain.
Saw why it was so angry, averse to superficiality.
Helped it start to let go of those extreme beliefs.
By understanding where the behavior came from, they could heal the wound.
And then Ethan's dad and the mountain goddess appearing.
During the session, yeah.
Raises questions about inner experience.
Accessing resources we're not even aware of.
The self has this power to heal, connect us with unexpected support.
Really makes you think.
The chapter lays out the steps to heal an exiled part.
First, build trust between the self and the exile.
Then, witness the trauma it's holding.
Help it release the burdens.
And finally, tell the protectors they can relax.
Their extreme roles aren't needed anymore.
It's a map for that inner journey.
A roadmap.
Chapter 8, Vision and Purpose. That's where things get really interesting.
We start to see the bigger picture.
The idea is more self-access leads to clearer life direction.
Purpose that's aligned with your true values.
Not driven by protectors' fears and agendas. As those exiled parts heal and let go of their burdens.
Other parts can step forward.
The ones that bring creativity, intimacy, playfulness.
Connection to nature.
Our priorities shift away from ego stuff, numbing out.
Towards things that truly nourish us.
Our purpose comes out as we heal.
Schwartz connects this to the idea of a calling in life.
Maslow's self-actualization.
When those survival parts chill out and trust the self.
Our wisdom, our unique contribution, it can just flow.
That's beautiful.
And he talks about altruism.
Interesting.
When you're self-led, helping others doesn't feel like a chore.
It's natural, an expression of our connection.
We see the shared humanity. We're motivated by compassion.
Wanting to contribute to something bigger.
There are exercises here, too, for self-leadership in tough spots.
Fire drill, that's one.
Observing your reactions to someone who triggers you.
But from self-awareness.
And sad person meditation. Connecting with someone's sadness with compassion.
Not getting caught in your own protective stuff.
It's a skill. You can practice it in everyday life.
Self-leadership, it takes practice.
Then we've got Chapter 9. Life Lessons and Tormentors.
Ooh, tormentors. I love that word.
The people and events that push our buttons.
They can be catalysts for growth.
They show us the parts that still need work.
When we react strongly, it's a part being activated.
Instead of just reacting outwardly, turn inward.
Ask, who's feeling triggered right now?
It tells us about our inner landscape, the wounds to heal.
Schwartz uses the advanced parts mapping exercise.
Forgetting a call with his brothers.
Simple thing, right?
But it triggered a whole network of protectors.
He calls it a clove of garlic.
Shows how even small triggers can set off a chain reaction.
Triggers are feedback, valuable information.
There's an exercise for working with triggers, too.
Working with triggers, yeah.
Approach those activated parts with compassion. Reassure them.
Don't judge yourself for your reactions.
Offer understanding, support, remind the part you're there for it.
You have the self to help navigate.
We go from avoiding triggers to learning from them.
That's the shift.
IFS can help with conflicts too, real-world ones.
With other people.
Pause. Go inward. See which parts are activated in you.
And maybe in the other person too.
Communicate from self with clarity, compassion.
More constructive, less reactive.
It can change everything.
Then, Chapter 10, Laws of Inner Physics.
Intriguing stuff.
2 big principles Schwartz has seen over and over.
First law, whenever a part agrees not to overwhelm, it won't.
Talk about powerful.
Direct communication, Negotiation with our parts.
Just ask a part that's taking over to chill out.
Let the self be present.
Create safety for deeper work.
Our parts are often way more reasonable than we think.
They want to cooperate.
Especially helpful with those loud inner critics, the anxious voices.
Don't suppress them, fight them.
Engage with them. Acknowledge their worries. Ask them to step aside.
Inner dialogue, not inner warfare.
And the second law, there's nothing inside you that has any power if you are in self and not afraid of it.
The self is key.
We can't be ruled by fear when working with our parts.
Grounded in self, that calm, compassionate presence.
Even the scariest parts lose their power.
The lesson. Cultivate that connection to self.
It's your main tool for navigating your inner world.
Your compass.
Schwartz even talks about tough stuff like inner racism through this lens.
Seeing it as a part with beliefs that can be unburdened, changed.
Powerful that he shares his own experience with it.
Very brave.
In session 4, Andy, that shows how even deep-seated patterns can be healed.
Approaching them with curiosity, compassion.
Understanding their roots, helping them let go.
It can be done.
Finally, chapter 11, self in the body, self in the world.
Embodiment, so important in IFS.
Not like some spiritual traditions that dismiss the body.
In IFS, the body is part of the system.
It holds the sensations and experiences of our parts.
Trauma, burdens, they can make us disconnect from our bodies.
Make it harder to access self, to heal.
Tuning into those physical sensations can tell us a lot.
About what our parts are going through.
Schwartz talks about his own injuries, his dad's PTSD.
To show how trauma and protectors can show up physically.
He also talks about medication and IFS.
It can calm those overactive protectors,
But sometimes it disconnects us from the body.
which can make the deeper work harder
And there's this idea that parts might target specific organs
to get our attention.
when we're not listening emotionally or mentally.
He talks about research on IFS and chronic pain.
Rheumatoid arthritis, for example.
Those physical symptoms, they can be messages from our parts.
Trying to tell us something.
That last session, session 5, TJ, with the migraines,
Wow, that was powerful.
it shows the mind-body link so clearly.
TJ connected with the anger from a car accident, the inner critic,
By getting curious about the pain,
and the physical symptoms eased up.
emotional and physical well-being, so interconnected.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the big takeaways?
The main thing I want listeners to remember, our inner world isn't something to be scared of or try to crush.
It's not the enemy.
It's a whole world of inner beings,
Our parts.
all with good intentions, even if they cause us pain sometimes.
It's true.
Understanding and connecting with them, with curiosity and compassion.
That's how we create inner peace.
Become the leader of our own inner family.
We've covered the basics of IFS. Multiple parts, no bad parts.
Blending, protectors and exiles, the self and its power.
And unburdening, that amazing process.
It's a whole new way to see ourselves in our struggle.
And it goes beyond us as individuals.
IFS can make our relationships better.
And Schwartz believes it can make the world more compassionate.
It's a life practice, an ongoing journey.
Keep exploring, keep healing.
So, to our listeners, we leave you with this.
Think about this.
How would understanding your own parts, those different sides of you,
Change how you relate to yourself.
to others, to the world?
Powerful question to ponder.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.